welcome to another Time Travel Tingles, where we combine tingles and nostalgia as decided by you. So, I know it's been a little while since the last Time Travel Tingles, but I have gone through all of the votes since then, and I'll tell you the top 5 votes. So coming in at number 5, we had Transformers. At number 4, Thundercats. Number 3 was Ghostbusters. Number 2, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And number 1, and I'm so happy about this, was Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I'm just such a huge Buffy fan. It's ridiculous. So I was very personally excited that Buffy won the vote for this one. And I'm super excited to tell you all of the fun little facts that I have about the show. So what I have to show you today, this is just the first in the DVD box set of all 7 seasons of Buffy. So I'll probably show you each one of these briefly. And something else that I'm really excited to show you is these Buffy comics. And these are pretty much unopened, mint condition Buffy comics. And I have, 1 through 5. So I'm not going to open them because I really can't, but I'll show you some of the artwork on the covers. So I'm really excited. Oh, I have one more thing too. I also have this Buffy sort of special feature DVD that has a few episodes with just the character Spike. Yeah, that's all it is. So that's what I'm going to show you. And I'm going to tell you everything that I know about Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So, we can get started, but before we do, I want to tell you why I'm such a big Buffy fan, aside from the obvious reasons. It's just such a good show. Buffy is super special to me. When I was I was like a sophomore or a junior in high school. I can't remember exactly how old I was. I was a teenager, and I was going through a really rough breakup one summer. And my dad loves Joss Whedon and had just finished watching all of Buffy. And he was watching it, and I didn't know anything about it. So I would just come into his study sometimes and see him watching Buffy, and I'd like, what is this grown man doing watching this show about a teenage vampire killer? And I didn't think much of it. I just thought it was weird that my dad was super into the show. But then I took his advice and watched it, and while I was experiencing this hard time. And I spent like that whole summer just in my room feeling sad and crying and being heartbroken and watching Buffy. And I finished it in a summer, all 7 seasons. That's basically all I did because I was just so sad. So Buffy really kind of like helped me heal from that experience, if you can believe it. The show is about vampires and supernatural dark forces and whatnot, but it really is about just getting through life as an adolescent. And it's just this sort of beautiful tale about dealing with all of the pain and whatnot that comes along with being young. And so I remember just experiencing so much, I don't know, healing. I could really relate to so many aspects of the show at the time, and they really helped me get through it. So Buffy was a really big part of my life when I was a teen, and I still love it, and I think it's one of the best shows ever on television. It's just so clever and funny and wonderful. So that's my Buffy rant. So now I'm going to move on and tell you everything that I know about Buffy. I'm going backwards. The Vampire Slayer. So Buffy is an American TV show that ran from March of 1997 through May of 2003. And it was created by Joss Whedon under his production company, Mutant Enemy Productions. Mutant Enemy. And it stars Sarah Michelle Gellar as Buffy Summers. And Buffy Summers is, well, she appears to be just a typical teenage high school student who's interested in boys and shopping and, just her social life and stuff like that. But she is part of a line of, sort of ancient line of young women known as slayers, vampire slayers, who are born into or chosen to defend the world against vampires and demons and forces of darkness. And there's a slayer for every generation, pretty much. And a slayer always has a watcher, and that's someone who's there to guide and train and counsel the slayer as she learns how to fulfill her destiny. And Buffy has a watcher, and I'm trying to find a picture of him. Buffy's watcher is Rupert Giles, who, when you first meet him, seems kind of like a stuffy English librarian. I can't find a picture of it. There's a really small one right here that you can't really see it. That's Giles right there. One difference between Buffy and the other Slayers, though, is that Buffy finds a very loving and loyal circle of friends who know her identity and actually help her in her Slayer duties. They come to be known as the Scooby Gang, or the Scoobies, because they sort of solve mysteries, kind of like the characters in Scooby-Doo. So, the first, I guess, version of Buffy, sort of, at least in the mind of Joss Whedon, was this character he came up with called Rhonda the Immortal Waitress. And that character sort of eventually evolved into Buffy over time. But it was basically the idea of a heroine, a woman who doesn't seem to be anything special, but is revealed to be extraordinary, like Buffy. And Joss Whedon really wanted a character like that because he just wanted to take that really typical Hollywood formula of, little sort of ditzy blonde who is just vulnerable and will, walk into a dark alley and just get murdered. He wanted to sort of like turn that on its head and create a hero instead, and sort of celebrate female power, which is something that Joss Whedon has always been really vocal about, and it's one of the reasons why I love him. He said that he felt that women needed better screen idols to look up to. So he created Buffy, who is still just honestly one of my role models in TV and film. I love her. So, Sarah Michelle Gellar was actually up for, around this time, up for the part of Sabrina Spellman from Sabrina the Teenage Witch. But she chose to do Buffy, and she, for the spot, or for the role of Buffy, she beat Selma Blair and Katie Holmes. But they obviously went on to do their own thing. But what's interesting is that the actress who plays the character Cordelia was originally cast as Buffy. And I think that Sarah Michelle Gellar was originally cast as Cordelia. But then they swapped, and so Charisma Carpenter became Cordelia, and Sarah became Buffy. And that would have been a really different kind of show. That would have been really interesting. So this is the season 2 DVD, or DVDs. And I love season 2 a lot. I like season 2 and 3, I think, the best. And season 1. So this is the character Angel, who had a spin-off. But he's Buffy's love interest. It's inside of these boxes. I'll have to find it. They have all kinds of great art and, well, photos, I guess, and little quotes from different episodes. And a little synopsis of the season. But what they have that I like the most, I have to find it for you, is in the back there's a little booklet that gives a synopsis of each episode in the season. So it'll tell you episode 1 and a little synopsis of it, and etc. I like that. So I have memories of laying in bed and watching Buffy and crying and feeling heartbroken. And I would just have this in my lap and read. Before each episode, I would read a little synopsis of what that episode would hold. So, and these were the exact DVDs that I watched, by the way. These are the exact booklets. There's a slightly better picture of Giles. And that's Xander, and Buffy, and Cordelia, and Willow, played by Allison Hannigan, and Angel, played by David Boreanaz. I think I said that right. So, yeah, I love the little booklet. There's a nice picture of Buffy. So there was a Buffy the Vampire Slayer movie that came out a while before the TV show. And it was also done by, well, it's written by Joss Whedon. But Joss Whedon hated it. Apparently they just really didn't stick to his script at all. So this is the 3rd season. There's Buffy. And I'm pretty certain that this is the season where we meet Faith for the first time. And Faith is an interesting character. She is also the Slayer, or a Slayer. I won't tell you how that came to be, but it's really kind of cool. There's Buffy and Angel looking really broody and emotional as usual. characters, Joyce and Dawn, who are Buffy's mother and sister. I didn't know this. They were originally not supposed to even really exist in the show. Joss Whedon didn't want the audiences to never really meet Buffy's family, but he realized over time that it was kind of unavoidable, especially because Buffy was getting into trouble all the time when she was in high school. Not because she was badly behaved, but because she had to secretly fight vampires all the time. So that meant that she couldn't always do her homework and whatnot. So he decided to include them in the show. And I really like Joyce's character. I didn't at first. I like her a lot more. I liked her a lot more as I sort of got older and could relate to her more. The actor who plays Xander, his name is Nicholas Brendan. Where's Xander? I did not know this, but in real life he suffered from a stutter. Oh, that's Angel, that's not Xander. That's something that he overcame sort of during his time in Hollywood. Also, as the show went on, Nicholas Brendan, Xander, was, I guess, working out a lot. And he started to get too buff and too fit. So the producers of the show asked him to stop working out because Xander's character is sort of kind of nerdy, and he's just sort of a tag-along sidekick. I actually always loved Xander, had a little crush on him, because he's so funny. I think they're doing some evening landscaping outside my apartment right now. Unless that's a plane. Either way, I'm sorry if the noise is bothering you. I didn't expect that. David Boreanaz, who played Angel, used to, on set, he would play this prank where he would pull his pants down in between takes. In between his takes. To try and get the other actors to break character and make them laugh. I thought that was funny. I don't want to scare you with this one. This is season 4, and it has one of my favorite episodes, but it's also, in my opinion, one of the most terrifying episodes of Buffy. And it's sort of a horror show, but it's pretty tame horror. It's generally pretty campy and silly. But there are a couple episodes that are truly really frightening. And one of them is the episode Hush, which actually was Emmy nominated, and it was so scary. There is pretty much zero talking in the entire episode, because everybody has had their voices stolen. I won't give it away, but it featured these guys who are really scary. They're called The Gentlemen, and they're terrifying. If you've never seen it, you should watch it. It's so good. But it'll give you nightmares. These guys, interesting fact, are, Joss Whedon said, based on, partially on Mr. Burns from The Simpsons. And Joss Whedon is a huge Simpsons fan. He loves The Simpsons. So I can kind of see the resemblance a little bit. I'm sorry if this is freaking you out. Put this one down now. So back to David Boreanaz. He, after Buffy was over, was offered the role of Batman or Bruce Wayne rather, in Christopher Nolan's Batman reboot. Oh. That's Evil Willow. It's really scary also. Willow goes a little crazy for a while due to some really terrible stuff that happens that I won't give away. Scary stuff. David Boreanaz also turned down some other roles. He was offered a part in the Resident Evil series, and his role in the TV show Bones that he is currently in, he almost turned that one down, but he went with it for some reason. Towards around season... I skipped season 5. Well, this is season 6, but towards, like, season 4-ish, or 5, it starts to get really dark for Buffy. Buffy gets kind of messed up. It takes on a whole new sort of tone, I guess. It's really interesting. But this is season 6. Interesting fact, Dolly Parton is technically an executive producer of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And the reason for that is that a person named Sandy Gallen, I think, who is an executive producer of Buffy and Angel, or was, also sort of managed Dolly Parton's career, like her whole career. And so they were sort of in a production partnership together. So technically, Dolly Parton is kind of indirectly involved with Buffy, which is cool. This is Willow and Tara. I love Tara. Buffy, they would often make a lot of like nice references to Xena, Warrior Princess, which is a show I also really liked when I was a kid. So in one episode of Xena, to sort of return the favor and acknowledge it, there was an episode where the character Gabrielle, I think she wrote a play, and she and Xena were both performing in the play. And someone, I don't remember which character it was, but someone said, I think Buffy the Vampire Slayer is playing next door, so it was meant to be like the name of another play in the Xena universe. And it's obviously a reference to Buffy. It's cute. Also, there's an episode with Kendra, who is another Slayer. And again, I won't explain why there are so many Slayers suddenly. You'll just have to watch it. But Kendra has just sort of come to town, and Willow walks in the room, and Kendra sort of gets up in her face and wants Willow to state who she is. She gets really defensive, and Buffy says, "Back off, Pink Ranger." That's the line. And that is funny because Sarah Michelle Gellar's stunt double was a woman named Sophia Crawford. And she also happened to be a stunt double for the Pink Ranger in Power Rangers. So it was like a little reference to her, which is cute. There's an episode called I Was Made for You. And there's a character named Warren who's a pretty terrible guy, actually. Warren builds himself a robot girlfriend. And it really seriously backfires and doesn't go very well for him, but side note, Warren is part of the reason that Scary Willow comes out. But that part, the robot girlfriend, was written with Britney Spears in mind to play her, but Britney Spears unfortunately turned it down. I guess she had better things to do than be on the best show of all time. Whatever. Here's season 5, because I skipped it by accident. There's Dawn and Spike. I really never liked Dawn, and as soon as she showed up in the series, I wished that she never had. I'm sure a lot of people felt the same way. I found her to be extremely irritating. And she was never supposed to be there in the first place. Whatever. The episode in season 2, maybe? Or the end of season 1? I can't remember. That's called Graduation Day. Features Buffy and the gang destroying their high school by pretty much blowing it up. But that episode had to be delayed and rewritten a little bit due to the Columbine shootings school shootings that occurred around that time. They kept the episode pretty much the same, but they just apparently rewrote certain lines and parts of the dialogue that would have, I guess, been insensitive at the time. Now I want to tell you about my very favorite episode of Buffy. It is a musical episode. Okay, here it is. It's in season 6. And it is episode number 7. Once More with Feeling. And the synopsis says, a demon named Sweet descends upon Sunnydale in search of dawn, his arrival causing everyone to burst into song and dance, and eventually into flame. I love this episode. I think it really is my favorite. And so Joss Whedon had been wanting to make a musical episode since Buffy began. So one night he and the cast were hanging out at his house, and they were all drinking, and then they all started kind of singing, I guess, and that's when he realized that some of them did have some good musical talent, so he decided he was going to go for it. So it took him 6 months to write all of the music for the episode, and he wrote it all himself. And the whole cast was just like really, for the most part, really nervous and uncomfortable with the whole thing. Sarah Michelle Gellar was really, really anxious about it all. So Joss Whedon suggested that they get a voice double for her, which made her cry. Apparently, she really didn't want somebody else. It's an important episode. There's a lot of information, like secrets revealed in this episode. And Sarah Michelle Gellar didn't want the big reveal to be someone else's voice, so she ended up doing it. And it was the most technical and the most complex episode of the whole series. It took hours and hours longer than it normally did to film an episode. They also shot it all this just one episode, they shot it in between shooting 4 other Buffy episodes. So they were working on it for a long time. It was Joss Whedon's very first attempt at writing music at all, ever. And he actually learned to play the guitar just so that he could write some of these songs. And real quick, here's season 7, because I want to show you the comic books. This is the final season. So, that episode was nominated for, 2002, for an Emmy for outstanding musical direction. But something ridiculous happened, which I'll tell you about in a sec. First, I want to show you the comic books. I can't open these up because they're special mint condition ones, but these belong to my dad. He let me borrow them for the video. But I wanted to show you the artwork. Just a side note, these comics are considered sort of season 8 of the show. They were written in part by Joss Whedon too. So they're not just fan art. So there's Buffy. I haven't read them all the way through. I started reading them several years ago, but I didn't finish, and the whole continuation of the story actually kind of threw me off a little bit. I will definitely want to attempt them again, I think. Okay, what happened with that Emmy nomination? It was terrible. Apparently, the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences they accidentally neglected to include that episode on the voting ballot that year. So it just wasn't on the ballot, even though it was nominated. And they sort of tried to fix it by sending out postcards to all of their voters to inform them that that episode should have been on their ballot, but it didn't win. And I don't know if it's just because it never was going to win, or because they forgot to put it on the ballot, but I think that's awful. And Joss Whedon was probably pretty bummed out about that, because he put so much time and energy into that episode. It actually ran about 8 minutes longer than the allotted time. There's Willow. Originally, that episode was how long was it? It was really long, but they had to condense it so that it wouldn't run too long on television. So these are in order, so this is number 3. My very kind father let me borrow these for this video, but he told me that I'm forbidden from opening them up. But I wish I could show you. I hope that you have enjoyed this week's time travel tingles and found it interesting and relaxing. Don't forget to cast your vote for the next time travel tingles topic in the comments below. There's Sander. I'll show you the last one. This is my favorite in terms of the artwork. It's really interesting. Yeah, so don't forget to cast your vote, and I'm probably gonna go watch a bunch of Buffy now. At least I wish I could. I'll be seeing you guys again very soon. But until then, sweet dreams, time travelers. I like Eggs and Soldiers, which is just soft-boiled egg kept in the shell, and the soldiers are thin strips of buttered toast that you dip into the egg yolk because it's kind of runny. And my grandma and my granddad gave that to me